The blood was still warm when police arrived at 1247 Elmwood Drive. Victoria Blackwood lay dying in her kitchen, her phone shattered on the floor beside her. 3 hours earlier, she'd signed divorce papers that would destroy her husband's life. 3 hours later, she was dead. Dr. Nathan Blackwood was giving a medical lecture to 200 witnesses, 40 miles away, when his wife took her final breath. Security cameras captured his every move. An airtight alibi that seemed impossible to break. But sometimes the most perfect alibis hide the most perfect murders. What you're about to discover will prove that the innocent aren't always innocent, and the guilty don't always pay, because this case will shatter everything you think you know about justice. Before we enter this maze of deception, I want to thank every subscriber who demands justice for the forgotten. If you're new here and you believe the truth deserves to be heard, hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you're going to need to see how this ends. Victoria Blackwood looked like she had everything. Successful real estate agent earning 6 figures a year. Pillar of the community who organized charity drives and volunteered at the local shelter. Married to Dr. Nathan Blackwood, the most respected surgeon in Millbrook County. But Instagram photos don't capture the sound of breaking bones. Victoria's medical records tell a different story. 6 emergency room visits in 2 years. Broken wrist from allegedly falling down stairs. Concussion from supposedly slipping in the shower. Black eye from reportedly walking into a door. Each injury documented with clinical precision, each excuse more unbelievable than the last. Dr. Nathan Blackwood's reputation remained spotless throughout it all. Chief of surgery at Memorial Hospital. Charity board member. The man who saved lives during the day was slowly destroying one at night. Victoria knew no one would believe her word against his, so she started recording everything. On March 15th at 2:30 a.m., her shaking voice captured these words. Nathan came home drunk again. He threw me against the wall and said if I ever try to leave him, he'll make sure no one finds my body. He said he knows exactly how to make it look like an accident. The threats escalated with each passing week. Victoria knew she was running out of time. She contacted divorce attorney Melissa Torres, begging her to expedite the proceedings. Victoria was terrified, claiming Nathan had access to drugs that could kill her and make it look natural. The divorce papers Torres prepared were brutal. Nathan would lose his $2 million home, his medical practice partnership, and half his pension. For a narcissist like Nathan Blackwood, this wasn't just financial ruin. It was complete public humiliation. Victoria signed those papers at 2:47 p.m. On October 18th. The restraining order would take effect at midnight. Asset seizure would begin the following morning. Nathan's life as he knew it would be over. By 9:15 p.m. that same day, Victoria was dead. At 9:18 p.m., neighbor Patricia Hayes called 911, screaming into the phone. There's someone being killed at 1247 Elmwood Drive. I can hear her screaming for help. But when police arrived 3 minutes later, only silence greeted them. Police found Victoria Blackwood in her kitchen, beaten to death with a marble rolling pin from her own drawer. The attack was savage and personal. Defensive wounds covered her hands and arms. She'd fought desperately for her life. Blood spatter analysis indicated the attacker was approximately 6 feet 2 inches tall and left-handed. Someone who knew the house layout intimately, who knew exactly where Victoria kept her kitchen utensils. Nathan Blackwood was 6 feet 2 inches tall and left-handed. His fingerprints were everywhere in the house, but he'd lived there for 8 years. The murder weapon came from Victoria's own kitchen. There were no signs of forced entry. Every piece of evidence pointed directly to Nathan Blackwood, except for one impossible detail that would turn this case upside down. At the exact time Victoria was being murdered, Dr. Nathan Blackwood was standing on stage at the Grandview Medical Center, delivering the keynote address to the Regional Surgical Symposium. 400 medical professionals watched him speak. Security cameras captured his every movement. Hotel records showed him checking in at 6:15 p.m. and never leaving his room. The medical center was 43 miles from Victoria's house. Even with no traffic, the drive would take 55 minutes. Victoria died between 8:30 and 9 p.m., according to the coroner's report. Nathan's speech began at 7:30 p.m. and ended at 8:45 p.m. to thunderous applause. It was physically impossible for Nathan Blackwood to have killed his wife. Detective James Murphy wasn't satisfied with the obvious answer. Something about this case felt calculated, too perfect. Domestic abusers don't usually change their pattern overnight. They escalate gradually. Murphy requested Nathan's cell phone records, and what he found shattered the perfect alibi into pieces. Nathan Blackwood's phone pinned cell towers near Victoria's house at 8:47 p.m. That's 13 minutes before the estimated time of death, and impossible if he was giving a speech 40 miles away. Either the cell towers had malfunctioned simultaneously, or someone else had Nathan's phone. But hotel security footage clearly showed Nathan entering his room at 6:15 p.m. and never leaving. Conference cameras captured him on stage delivering his lecture flawlessly. Conference attendees later reported that Nathan seemed different that night, more nervous than usual, constantly checking his watch during his speech, but no one questioned it at the time. The phone data didn't lie. Someone using Nathan Blackwood's phone was at the murder scene when Victoria died. Murphy dug deeper into Nathan's background, searching for any explanation for the impossible timeline. What he discovered in the family records changed everything. Nathan Blackwood had an identical twin brother named Marcus. According to official records, Marcus had died in a single-car accident 3 years earlier. The crash was horrific. The car had exploded on impact, burning the body beyond recognition. Marcus was identified only through dental records. But when Murphy examined the death certificate more closely, he noticed something suspicious. The signatures didn't match any other official documents in Marcus's file. Someone had been cashing Marcus Blackwood's disability checks for 2 years after his supposed death. The signature on the checks didn't match any family member on record with the insurance company. Murphy ordered enhanced analysis of the conference security footage. While facial recognition software couldn't distinguish between identical twins, behavioral analysis revealed disturbing inconsistencies. The man giving the speech had different micro-expressions than Dr. Nathan Blackwood in previous recorded lectures. Different posture, different hand gestures. The voice pattern was identical, but the body language belonged to someone else. If Marcus Blackwood was alive, it meant Nathan had been using his dead brother's identity for years. And on the night Victoria died, Marcus had taken Nathan's place at the conference while Nathan committed murder. Bank records revealed the scope of the deception. Nathan had been making monthly payments of $3,000 to a private investigator named Rick Vasquez for the past 6 months. Vasquez's files contained hundreds of photographs of Victoria, her gym schedule documented down to the minute, her grocery shopping routine mapped out in detail, even which nights she worked late at the real estate office and which route she took home. Someone had been planning Victoria's murder for months, studying her every move like a predator stalking prey. Phone records uncovered a network of burner phones purchased with cash in the weeks leading up to Victoria's death. The phones were used to coordinate between 2 people, someone at the medical conference and someone at the murder scene. But the most damning evidence came from Victoria herself. Hidden in her home office, police found a flash drive containing video footage from a security camera Victoria had secretly installed to document Nathan's abuse. The final video was recorded 3 days before her death. Nathan's voice was crystal clear on the recording. "You think you're so smart with those divorce papers? You have no idea what I'm capable of. Marcus always said you were too nosy for your own good." Victoria's terrified response: "Marcus is dead, Nathan." Nathan's chilling reply: "Is he?" Victoria's investigation had uncovered something far more sinister than domestic abuse. She'd stumbled onto a conspiracy that made her a target worth killing. 6 months before her death, Victoria had begun asking questions about Nathan's surgical patients. His mortality rate was 3 times higher than the hospital average, but the deaths weren't from surgical complications. Medical records revealed a disturbing pattern. Healthy patients would enter Nathan's operating room for routine procedures and die unexpectedly. But their bodies were missing organs, kidneys, corneas, heart tissue that could be harvested and sold. Nathan and Marcus weren't just twin brothers hiding a fake death. They were business partners in an international organ trafficking ring worth millions of dollars. Financial records showed offshore accounts in 7 countries, containing over $15 million in deposits over 3 years. The money trail led to private medical facilities in countries with no extradition treaties. Victoria had documented everything: patient names, dates of surgeries, financial transactions. She'd built a case that could destroy not just Nathan, but an entire network of corrupt medical professionals. Victoria knew she was in mortal danger, but she also knew she might be the only person who could stop the killing. 3 weeks before her death, she gave her attorney a key to a safety deposit box with specific instructions. If anything happened to Victoria, the box should be opened immediately and its contents turned over to federal authorities. Inside that box was enough evidence to bring down the entire organ trafficking operation. Patient files with forged death certificates, financial records linking the Blackwood brothers to international buyers, photographs proving Marcus was alive and actively participating in the scheme. Victoria had also written a detailed confession explaining everything she'd discovered. Her final words were a plea for justice. "If you're reading this, Nathan has probably killed me. But I want the world to know that my husband and his brother Marcus are murderers. They've killed at least 12 people that I know of, harvesting their organs for wealthy buyers overseas. I have the evidence. Make them pay for what they've done." But Victoria made one fatal mistake. She trusted the wrong person with her life. Victoria's murder wasn't just planned by Nathan and Marcus. They had help from inside the police department itself. Detective Roger Kimmel was the first officer on the scene. He was also $50,000 in debt to local bookmakers and desperate for money. The Blackwood brothers paid him handsomely to make sure certain evidence never made it to trial. Kimmel contaminated the crime scene. He coached witnesses to change their statements. Most importantly, he buried the key to Victoria's safety deposit box, ensuring her evidence would never see daylight. By the time Internal Affairs discovered Kimmel's corruption, the damage was done. Key evidence had been destroyed or tampered with. Witnesses had been intimidated into silence. The prosecution's case was falling apart. Nathan was arrested but released on $2 million bail. Marcus had vanished completely, presumably fled to one of their international safe houses. The Blackwood twins thought they were untouchable, protected by money and corruption. They had no idea Victoria Blackwood had prepared for this exact scenario. Nathan Blackwood's trial began 8 months after Victoria's murder. The defense team was confident. They had video evidence of their client at the medical conference during the time of the murder, hotel records, witness testimony. The prosecution's case, they claimed, was built on speculation and conspiracy theories. One by one, key witnesses recanted their statements. Evidence continued to disappear from police storage. Even Victoria's own recorded conversations were ruled inadmissible due to Detective Kimmel as mishandling of the chain of custody. The defense painted Nathan as a grieving widower, the victim of a vindictive ex-wife's elaborate frame job. They claimed Victoria had staged her own murder to destroy Nathan's reputation, never expecting to actually die in the process. After 3 weeks of testimony, the judge made a stunning announcement. Due to prosecutorial misconduct and contaminated evidence, all charges against Dr. Nathan Blackwood were dismissed. Nathan walked out of the courthouse a free man. The media called it a travesty of justice. Victoria's family was devastated. It seemed like the perfect crime had succeeded. But Victoria Blackwood had anticipated this possibility and prepared accordingly. 2 days after Nathan's acquittal, newspapers across the country received identical packages with no return address. Inside were copies of every piece of evidence the police had buried, plus additional material that had never been seen before. Victoria had programmed her computer to automatically upload files to social media platforms if she didn't check in every 48 hours for more than a week. She'd mailed evidence packages to 12 different news outlets, set to be delivered only if Nathan was acquitted. Even in death, Victoria Blackwood was still fighting for justice. The story exploded across national media. Federal investigators took over the case immediately. International arrest warrants were issued for both Blackwood brothers within hours. Marcus Blackwood was arrested in Costa Rica 6 months later, caught trying to board a plane to a non-extradition country. Nathan's medical license was permanently revoked. Both brothers were extradited back to the United States and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The organ trafficking investigation expanded internationally. 23 victims were identified across 3 countries. 12 families finally got answers about their loved ones' mysterious deaths. Victoria Blackwood died believing she had failed to stop her killers. She was wrong. Her voice echoed from beyond the grave because she refused to let evil win. Justice came exactly as she had planned it. Victoria Blackwood's story reminds us that sometimes the dead are the only ones brave enough to speak the truth. Her courage echoes across time because she refused to let corruption and violence go unpunished. If Victoria's fight for justice inspires you to demand answers for the forgotten, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Share her story with everyone you know. Keep her memory alive and her mission burning bright. Because somewhere out there, another Victoria needs our voice before it's too late. Another family needs us to care when the system fails them. Justice may be slow, but it's not silent. Not while we're listening. Not while we're fighting. What case should we investigate next? Let me know in the comments below. But remember, once you start seeking the truth, you can never unsee what you find. Until next time, keep questioning everything. Keep demanding justice. The life you save might be your own. Victoria Blackwood, 1985 to 2023. Her voice will never be silenced. Subscribe for justice. Subscribe for truth. Subscribe for the victims who can't speak for themselves anymore.